Have you ever wondered why society pushes the idea of retirement as the ultimate goal of life? You work for decades, waiting for that golden age when you can finally kick back, relax, and live your life on your terms. But what if everything you've been told about retirement is a lie? What if freedom doesn't come from escaping work, but from understanding why we work in the first place? What if true freedom isn't something that you have to wait for in the future, but something that you can access right now, in the present moment? We've all heard it. Work hard now, save up, and one day you'll retire and be free. The promise of retirement has been sold to us as the Holy Grail, the end of the race, and the beginning of true happiness. But think about it. The more we chase this idea of freedom, the more we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of endless striving. We spend our youth and middle age working toward a future that, once we finally get there, may not bring the peace and joy we imagined. Alan Watts, one of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century, challenges this traditional view. He believed that freedom doesn't come from a distant point in time, but from the way we live right now. He often spoke about how people mistake the idea of freedom as something that can only be attained after years of labor. But this idea, he argues, is fundamentally flawed. Instead of waiting for retirement to enjoy life, why not learn to find joy in the present moment? Why not start embracing the work you do today, not as a means to an end, but as a way to live more fully? The real question is, why wait for freedom? By the end of this journey, you'll see that retirement isn't the end goal. It's the beginning of understanding that freedom isn't something outside of us. It's something that we can create and experience every single day. We've all been taught to believe that freedom is something that can only be reached in the future, after years of hard work, after putting in the time, and after finally retiring. But what if I told you that true freedom isn't a destination at all? What if freedom is a state of mind, something we can experience right now, in every moment? Alan Watts often spoke about the misconception of freedom being tied to retirement or escape. He pointed out that society has conditioned us to view work as something burdensome, something that must be endured to earn the right to rest. But what if we've got it all wrong? Watts challenges the idea that freedom comes from escaping the responsibilities of life. Instead, he proposes that freedom is about how we live our lives, not about waiting for a time when we no longer have to work. He believed that life itself is the work, and we can choose to experience it fully, joyfully, and in harmony with our inner selves. In this light, the real question we need to ask ourselves is not, when will I be free? But how can I live fully now? We've been conditioned to believe that the purpose of work is simply to survive, to earn money, to save, to pay bills, and to ultimately reach the golden age of retirement. But this mindset traps us in an endless cycle of working for a future that may never bring the freedom we expect. The reality is, we may miss out on the present because we're so focused on a future that doesn't exist yet. Watts believed that freedom isn't something we obtain. It's a way of being. It's about how we choose to experience each moment and how we choose to engage with the work we do. It's about seeing life as a form of play, not a means to an end. Imagine for a moment, what if we stopped seeing work as a means to an end? What if we embraced every moment of it as part of life's unfolding? What if every task, big or small, was approached with a sense of curiosity, joy, and presence? Imagine no longer putting off joy for the future, but experiencing it every single day. Alan Watts often said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive." It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, we complicate it by thinking we need more time, more money, more security. But what if all we really need is to simply be present in what we're doing right now? True freedom, according to Watts, is not about working for the future. It's about embracing life's natural flow. This means shifting our perspective on work. Instead of seeing it as a necessary evil, we can start to view it as a part of life's natural rhythm, a rhythm that can be enjoyed, embraced, and appreciated, no matter what it is we're doing. This perspective doesn't mean we should stop striving for growth or improvement, but it does encourage us to realize that the work we do is not something that robs us of freedom. It's something that can enhance our lives, give us purpose, and connect us to the world in meaningful ways. Now, take a moment and reflect. When was the last time you truly enjoyed the work you were doing? Not because it was going to lead to a paycheck or a vacation, but because the act of doing it brought you satisfaction, joy, or a sense of purpose. What if the key to happiness isn't waiting for retirement, but finding joy in the work we do today? What if, instead of living for the weekend, we could live fully in the present, with each day offering the potential for fulfillment and freedom? The idea of freedom that society sells us is often tied to external factors, money, status, and eventually retirement. But Alan Watts points out that true freedom isn't about external circumstances. It's about our internal state. It's about how we experience life right now. You don't have to wait for retirement to live freely. The freedom you've been searching for is not out there in some distant future. It's available to you in every moment, every action, and every experience. And if you begin to shift your mindset, you'll realize that you've been free all along. You just need to start living like it. Let's talk about security. We've all been told that in order to be free, we must first secure our future, save for retirement, invest wisely, and build up enough wealth to live comfortably when the time comes. But here's a question. What if the security you've been chasing all your life is actually an illusion? In the conventional narrative, security is framed as something external. It's about having enough money, a stable job, or a guaranteed pension. The world tells us, when you have these things, you'll be safe. You'll be free to live life on your terms. But Alan Watts, with his sharp insight, challenges this very concept. He points out that the more we try to secure our future, the more we disempower ourselves in the present. Watts famously said, "The more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless." What does this mean? It's simple. When we chase permanent security, when we put our trust entirely in external conditions, we lose touch with the dynamic flow of life. Life is constantly changing, and no matter how much we try to control it, we cannot escape the inevitable ebb and flow. Think about it. For most of us, the idea of security revolves around a future state of comfort. We imagine ourselves free from the need to work, finally able to travel, relax, or spend time with loved ones. But the more we focus on securing this ideal future, the more we ignore the present moment, the only time when we can truly live. In fact, the pursuit of security often keeps us locked in a cycle of fear and scarcity. We're afraid of losing what we have, so we work harder, save more, and keep striving for that unreachable safety net. The problem is that by focusing so much on future security, we begin to define ourselves by what we don't have yet, rather than what we can experience right now. Here's the truth. No amount of external security can ever truly guarantee happiness. The security that most of us are chasing, whether it's a hefty savings account, a luxurious house, or a prestigious job, is based on a belief that external circumstances can make us feel secure. But that's a dangerous myth. External things are fleeting. They change, they wear out, they get lost. But true security comes from within. This is where the illusion starts to break down. True security is found in understanding the transient nature of life and accepting the flow of uncertainty. When we stop clinging to the idea of an unshakable future, we free ourselves from the fear that drives us to work endlessly. We can find peace in the uncertainty because, in truth, life has never been predictable. Let's put this into perspective. How many times have you heard someone say, "I'll be happy once I retire"? How many times have you caught yourself thinking, "If I can just get that promotion, that car, that vacation, then I'll be happy. These thoughts are ingrained in us from an early age, but they set us up for disappointment. The danger lies in postponing our happiness for some future event. We wait for the perfect job, the right amount of savings, the ideal time to begin living fully. But in doing so, we forget one crucial fact. Happiness and freedom are not found in waiting. They are found in the here and now. Instead of postponing joy, we must learn to let go of the idea of permanent security and embrace the fluid nature of life. Imagine a life where we trust that the universe will provide what we need in each moment, rather than trying to control every outcome. Imagine having the confidence to be at peace with uncertainty, knowing that true freedom comes from living fully in the present, not from a far-off future where we've arrived. Alan Watts often talked about the importance of letting go of the need to control everything. If you're always focused on securing your future, you miss out on what is happening in the present. What you actually need isn't more wealth, more status, or more things. What you need is a deeper connection to the present moment, a realization that the only thing you truly control is your own state of mind. And let's be honest, the more we chase after future security, the more we let go of the joy of living in the now. True wealth is not in accumulating more, it's in appreciating what we already have. When we shift our focus from securing a distant future to enjoying the present, we realize that we have everything we need right now. We can start living as if we already have everything we need to feel secure, because, in a deeper sense, we do. In summary, the idea of external security is an illusion that keeps us trapped in a cycle of endless striving. We must stop relying on future guarantees and begin to trust the present. When we do, we free ourselves from the fears and doubts that keep us from living fully. True security is found in the awareness that life is fluid, ever-changing, and ultimately a beautiful dance of uncertainty. If the pursuit of security, retirement, and external goals is not the answer to true freedom, then what is? The answer, according to Alan Watts, lies in living fully in the present. Most of us are so focused on the future, always waiting for the next phase of life, the next big achievement, that we forget that the present moment is all we truly have. Alan Watts often emphasized that life is not something that happens later. It is happening right now. The real question we need to ask ourselves is, how can we start living fully in the present right now? This is where we begin to uncover the secret to true freedom. Meaning is not found in what we hope to achieve, but in how we engage with what we have right now. We often think that happiness and fulfillment are rewards we'll receive at some distant point in the future. We postpone them for a better time, when we have more time, more money, or more success. But this constant deferral keeps us stuck in a cycle of longing and waiting. What would happen if we chose to stop postponing life? What if we embraced every moment, not as something that must be endured, but as something that is full of possibility, joy, and meaning? Let's take a step back and think about our daily lives. Whether you're working a 9-to-5 job, running your own business, or managing a household, every task you do is part of your life's flow. Yet, how often do we see work as a burden, a means to an end? How often do we focus on the destination, promotion, paycheck, recognition, while missing the value in the journey itself? Alan Watts spoke of the importance of play in life. To him, life was not meant to be lived with the weight of seriousness, anxiety, and the endless drive to get somewhere. Instead, he urged us to embrace life as play, not as something we endure, but as something we participate in with joy, creativity, and spontaneity. Imagine a child at play. The child doesn't think about the future, doesn't worry about what's coming next. The child is simply absorbed in the experience of the moment. That's the mindset we should adopt, not necessarily as children, but as adults who are fully engaged in life as it is. This doesn't mean we stop setting goals or striving for growth. but it means we engage with the process with a sense of wonder and playfulness. Think about it. When was the last time you truly enjoyed your work or the simple tasks in your life? Not because you were striving for something or because it would lead to a reward, but simply because you were present in the moment, giving your full attention to what you were doing. The truth is, finding meaning and fulfillment in the present is often a matter of perspective. If you're always looking toward the future for happiness, you'll miss the richness of what's happening right now. The secret to a fulfilling life is not about waiting for life to get better or for some distant goal to be achieved. It's about realizing that life is already here, waiting to be experienced fully. You might be thinking, that sounds nice, but how do I actually live this way? The answer is simple, though not always easy. It's about mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your attention fully to the present moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about being aware of what you're doing, feeling, and thinking without getting lost in the past or the future. When you bring mindfulness into your daily tasks, they become more meaningful. Washing the dishes, answering emails, taking a walk, all of these can become moments of presence, moments where you are fully engaged with what you are doing, without rushing to the next thing. Now, let's talk about the power of acceptance. Acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to a life you don't want. It's about letting go of the need to control everything and trusting the flow of life. Acceptance allows you to appreciate the present for what it is, without the constant need to change, improve, or escape it. Acceptance gives you the freedom to live in the now, without the weight of anxiety about what comes next. Imagine how your life would change if you accepted every moment as it is, without judgment. You wouldn't be constantly chasing after the next big thing. You would be able to find peace, joy, and meaning in every experience, no matter how small. This doesn't mean we stop striving for better things. It means that we no longer rely on the future for our happiness. The present moment is enough, and when we learn to embrace that, we unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment. In summary, the key to finding meaning and fulfillment in life is not to wait for some distant future. It's about engaging with life right now. By practicing mindfulness, embracing play, and accepting the present moment, we can experience life in its fullest form. And in doing so, we free ourselves from the false belief that happiness and fulfillment lie somewhere in the future. The truth is, they are already here in the present moment, waiting to be realized. For most of our lives, we've been taught that the ultimate goal is to reach a point where we can stop working, stop struggling, and simply enjoy life, whether that's through retirement, financial success, or some other form of achievement. The end goal is often painted as a peaceful, blissful state of freedom. But what if this end goal is not the true path to freedom? What if the belief that we have to reach a certain point to be happy is actually what's holding us back from living fully in the present? Alan Watts, a philosopher who explored the nature of existence, believed that this obsession with end goals, whether it's retirement, financial independence, or any other future outcome, keeps us from experiencing the true joy of life. We've been conditioned to believe that life is a journey that must lead to a final destination. But in truth, life itself is the destination, and the process of living is where all the richness lies. When we treat life as a series of tasks to be completed, we are constantly moving from one goal to the next. We wait for the next vacation, the next promotion, the next big achievement. But in doing so, we miss out on the beauty and meaning of the present moment. We think that once we reach the end goal, everything will be perfect. But what if that goal doesn't actually bring us the satisfaction we expect? We've all been there. We set a goal, work hard to achieve it, and when we finally reach it, we realize that it doesn't bring the sense of fulfillment we thought it would. This is because the goal itself wasn't the true source of happiness. It was the pursuit, the process, the experience of growth and learning that brought joy. But once we achieve the goal, that sense of fulfillment can quickly fade, leaving us to chase after the next one. This is the trap of constantly living for the next thing, always waiting for a future time when life will be better. It's easy to get caught in this mindset. Work hard now, struggle now, and one day, the reward will come. But the truth is, life isn't about reaching an endpoint. It's about how we engage with the journey. Imagine a race where the runner's only focus is the finish line. They are so fixated on crossing that line that they forget to enjoy the race itself. They miss out on the beautiful scenery, the camaraderie with fellow runners, and the experience of pushing their own limits. In the end, reaching the finish line doesn't provide the lasting satisfaction they sought because they were too focused on the final end goal and not on the race itself. Alan Watts explains that this mentality of focusing on the finish line is a trap. Life, he says, isn't something to get through or finish. It's something to experience. Each moment, each step is valuable in itself. When we stop living for the end goal, we begin to live more fully in each moment, enjoying the process as much as the result. But how do we let go of the end goal? How do we stop defining our happiness by something that's always in the future? The first step is to shift our perspective on life. Instead of seeing life as a series of checkpoints to be crossed off, we need to start seeing life as a continuous flow of experiences, each one important in its own right. Instead of waiting for a future moment to find happiness, we need to find joy in the journey itself. This doesn't mean we stop setting goals or working towards things we care about. It means we stop seeing them as the only source of fulfillment. We can still work hard, but we need to embrace the process of working, rather than seeing it as a means to an end. We can enjoy the moments of growth, challenge, and learning, knowing that every step we take is part of the whole. Letting go of the end goal also means accepting the uncertainty of life. We can't predict what will happen in the future, and we can't control every outcome. But that's part of the beauty of life. It's an adventure, and the unknown is where we find the opportunity for growth. By embracing uncertainty, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new experiences, and new joys that we might miss if we were focused only on a fixed goal. Alan Watts often spoke about how the idea of getting somewhere is a deeply ingrained belief that we must unlearn. Instead of focusing on a fixed destination, he encourages us to see life as a dance, a dynamic, ever-changing flow of moments. The more we try to control the outcome, the more we miss the beauty of the present. So, what does it look like to live without the end goal? It means finding joy in the everyday, in the small, seemingly mundane moments of life. It means embracing the journey with all its ups and downs, knowing that every experience adds richness to your existence. It means living fully in the now, not waiting for a perfect future or a better time to be happy. And most importantly, it means realizing that you don't need to achieve anything to be free. You already are. We've been taught for most of our lives that wealth is the key to freedom: money, possessions, status, and security. We chase after these external markers of success, thinking that they will provide us with happiness, peace, and ultimately, freedom. But what if true wealth isn't something external at all? What if real abundance isn't about what we own, but about the way we experience and engage with life? Alan Watts often pointed out that we live in a society that has become obsessed with accumulation of wealth, things, and achievements. We think that once we've gathered enough material goods, secured enough money, or reached a certain status, we'll finally feel complete. But Watts challenges this idea by suggesting that true wealth is not about the accumulation of things. It's about the richness of the experience itself. Wealth is often defined by the things we can see: money, possessions, titles. But what if we broadened our definition of wealth? True wealth lies in our ability to experience life fully, to connect with others meaningfully, and to live in a way that reflects our deepest values. It's not about the quantity of what we have, but the quality of our experience is not so. Let's ask ourselves, what does true wealth look like? True wealth is the ability to appreciate the beauty of a sunset, the joy of a good conversation, the warmth of connection, and the peace of mind that comes with knowing you are enough, just as you are. It's about having a rich inner life, a deep sense of peace and contentment, rather than constantly seeking external validation. When we define wealth solely in material terms, we limit our experience of life. But when we shift our focus to experiential wealth, we open ourselves to a much greater possibility. True abundance isn't about what's in our bank account or what we own. It's about how we experience life and how much joy, gratitude, and connection we bring to every moment. Imagine for a moment a person who has accumulated all the wealth in the world, money, houses, cars, luxury vacations, but feels empty inside. They might have everything society tells them they need, but they feel disconnected, stressed, and unfulfilled. Contrast that with someone who might not have all the material wealth in the world, but who lives with a deep sense of inner peace, who finds joy in the simplest things, and who appreciates the richness of their relationships and the beauty of the present moment. Which one would you say is truly wealthy? The person with the most things, or the person who lives fully and mindfully, experiencing the richness of life without attachment to material possessions? True wealth is the ability to enjoy life without being dependent on external circumstances. It's the freedom to live authentically, without the need to prove anything to anyone or accumulate things to validate your worth. It's about being present, embracing life as it is, and experiencing the fullness of the moment. Now, this isn't to say that material wealth is inherently bad or unimportant. Having resources can give us the freedom to live more comfortably, pursue passions, and help others. But it's important to understand that material wealth alone does not guarantee happiness or freedom. In fact, it can often lead to the opposite: stress, dissatisfaction, and a constant yearning for more. Richest people in the world aren't always the ones with the most money. They are often the ones who have the most inner wealth. These are the people who find joy in the simple things, who are content with their lives, and who experience a profound sense of gratitude for what they have, not what they lack. Alan Watts teaches us that we can live a life of abundance regardless of our material circumstances by shifting our focus from accumulating things to experiencing life fully. Abundance is not something we have to earn or chase, it's something we already possess. It's a state of mind, a way of being in the world that doesn't depend on external validation or material success. When we stop defining wealth by our possessions, we realize that we are already abundant. The simple fact that we are alive, that we have the ability to think, feel, and experience the world, is an incredible gift. This is true wealth, the richness of life itself. By practicing gratitude, living in the present, and focusing on the richness of our inner world, we can shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. We can begin to see that we are enough, that life is enough, and that we don't need more to be happy. Everything we need to experience true wealth is already available to us in the present moment. So, the next time you find yourself chasing after more, whether it's money, success, or possessions, remember that true wealth is not about what you have, but how you experience the world around you. It's about appreciating the abundance that's already here and realizing that you are already rich in ways that matter most. We've covered a lot of ground so far. We've questioned the myths about retirement and freedom, dismantled the illusion of security, explored the importance of living in the present, and examined the difference between material wealth and true abundance. But now, it's time for the most powerful realization of all the realization, that once you stop believing in the voice inside your head, you become limitless. This voice, the voice of doubt, fear, self-criticism, and judgment, your reality for as long as you can remember. It has influenced every decision, every thought, and every action. For most people, this voice feels like it is them. We identify with it so deeply that we forget that it is nothing more than a conditioned response. It is a product of our past, our upbringing, and society's expectations. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. The thoughts in your mind, whether positive or negative, are not the essence of who you are. You are the observer of these thoughts, the awareness that is witnessing them. And when you begin to realize this, everything changes. The voice in your head tells you that you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that you don't deserve happiness or freedom. It tells you that you have to keep working, keep striving, keep chasing after the next goal in order to be happy. But what if all of that is a lie? What if you've been listening to a voice that isn't even truly yours? This realization is liberating because it means that you don't have to be controlled by that voice anymore. You don't have to let it dictate your actions, your emotions, or your sense of self-worth. You can choose to detach from your thoughts and step into a higher level of awareness, one that is free from the limitations of the mind. This is the essence of true freedom, the ability to disidentify from your thoughts, to see them as passing mental events rather than absolute truths. When you can observe your thoughts without reacting to them, without identifying with them, you open up a space of immense freedom. Alan Watts often spoke about the importance of awareness, the ability to witness the mind without becoming entangled in it. He described this as the key to freedom. When you can see the thoughts in your mind for what they are, temporary, fleeting, and often untrue, you gain the power to choose your response rather than automatically reacting to every thought that comes your way. This ability to detach from the mind is not something that happens overnight. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to witness your thoughts without judgment. But over time, as you cultivate this awareness, you will begin to notice a profound shift in how you experience life. The voice of doubt and fear will lose its power over you, and you will start to realize that you are not limited by your thoughts. Think about the times when you've been held back by fear or doubt, when you've convinced yourself that you couldn't do something, or that you weren't capable of achieving your goals. These thoughts were not based on reality. They were just the conditioned voice in your head, speaking from past experiences and beliefs. But now, you have the power to see them for what they are, and to choose not to believe them. As you begin to disidentify from the mind, you will start to feel a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. You will no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone or chase after external validation. You will realize that you are already whole, already free, and already enough. True freedom is not the absence of challenges or difficulties. It's the ability to navigate life with a sense of inner peace, knowing that you are not defined by your circumstances. It's about accepting the flow of life, the ups and downs, the twists and turns, and realizing that you can remain centered and grounded no matter what happens. In this space of freedom, you will also begin to realize that you are not alone. As you detach from the voice of fear and limitation, you will start to connect more deeply with others. You will see that everyone is struggling with the same internal battles, and you will cultivate a deep sense of compassion for yourself and others. This sense of compassion comes from the understanding that, just like you, others are also doing their best to navigate life's challenges. The final step on this path to freedom is to embrace your true self, the self that is beyond thought, beyond fear, beyond judgment. This is the self that is always present, always at peace, always free. When you begin to live from this place, you will experience a sense of limitless potential. You will see that you are not bound by your past, your fears, or your self-imposed limitations. You are capable of creating the life you desire from a place of authenticity and inner strength. So, as you continue on this journey, remember this: you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that is witnessing them. And when you begin to step into this awareness, You will unlock a world of endless possibility and true freedom. The path to freedom is not about escaping your mind. It's about recognizing that you are the one who has been watching it all along. When you stop believing in the limitations imposed by the voice in your head, you will realize that you are already limitless.